Well guys, welcome my new soccer mom car. So the other day I was scouring my local Coparts and I found this bad boy on the auctions for a really low price. It's a 2006 Porsche Cayenne Turbo and I picked it up for $2,700, which is an absolute steal. If you look at these on any other marketplace, they range from anywhere from like $5,000 to about $8,000. They can go up above that as well, depending on how good of condition it is. This one runs and drives, as you can see, but it does have some issues that I'll get into in a little bit. As you can see, this is a Porsche SUV. It's actually Porsche's first SUV that they ever made. It kind of spiraled into making the Porsche Macan, which is the top selling Porsche in the Porsche lineup. As you can see, the interior is not bad. It's got leather dash, leather seats, got some handles right there for when you're going off-roading. And that's one thing I noticed about this is actually kind of an off-road style Porsche. As you can see, these tires right here, they got quite a bit of tread on them and they're not aftermarket. These are actually the tires that Porsche ran on here. They're new tires, but they did run all-terrain tires. We'll go on into the back seats right here. As you can see, the backrest thing for the back of the seat's all messed up. We'll have to glue that back later, but not too spacious in the back. And that is because it's a hatchback and there's a ton of room back here. I don't know why they could have just scooted the seats back a little bit so there's more leg room, but ton of room in the back. I forget what color this is, but it's actually pretty nice. There's some little blemishes and stuff everywhere that honestly some stuff might need to be repainted. As you can see right here is the main damage. So for a Porsche, I would say it's in pretty rough condition, but I'm gonna show you one of the things I'm most excited about. 4.5 liter V8 twin turbocharged. As you can see, this engine looks pretty dressed up in here. They do a really good job of putting all these plastic parts around here and just making this thing look beautiful. There's a couple different models of the original Cayenne, and the base of the base model has a V6. Then the next step up goes to a naturally aspirated 4.5 liter V8. Then you get the turbo, and then you get the Turbo S, which has a little bit more horsepower. So this one actually has 450 horsepower, which is absolutely insane. I'm not sure about the Turbo S. I think it makes a little over 500 horsepower. I'm assuming it's the same exact engine, but it's just tuned a little bit higher. You're probably wondering what these things are right next to the engine, and they're actually air compressors. This thing is actually on air suspension from the factory. As you can see, it's raised all the way up right now, and there's actually an issue with the air suspension from the damage that happened. This is where it got hit or something hit it. It seems like most of it tend to happen at the bottom here. And as you can see, this is the intercooler for one of the turbos on the right side. It is actually fine from what I've inspected. There may be a crack somewhere, I hope not, because I'm pretty sure these are kind of expensive. There is some intercooler piping in the back that connects this that I know is broken, and you can actually hear the boost leak when you give it a little bit of throttle. Front bumper is pretty much destroyed, probably need a whole new bumper. And then when you go back here, there's actually another air pump, but I think that damage right there is what is causing our air suspension fault. We're getting a couple codes on the dash, just some miscellaneous ABS stuff. But other than that and some cosmetic stuff, this thing is actually a really good car. I'm gonna hop back into the interior in here and show you guys a little bit more about the options that this Porsche has. It is a 6-speed automatic. It has the Steptronic, I believe is what Porsche calls it. As you can see right there, Steptronic. These are the paddle shifter buttons, or whatever you want to call it. Has it on both sides. It's kind of weird they didn't put actual paddles. I never had buttons, but we'll test them out. As you can see right here is the 4-wheel drive. I believe the back is a limited slip. I'm not 100% sure. And you can lock the front and the rear, which is pretty nice for off-roading. It's pretty much going to be impossible to get this thing stuck unless you're in some really deep mud. Then it has some different comfort levels for the shock absorbers, which is pretty nice. And then you can obviously raise and lower the air suspension, which this is having a little bit of an issue right now. So without Copart fees, sales tax, everything like that, I actually paid $1,700 for this Porsche, which I think that's an absolute steal, especially since this thing runs. If this thing didn't run, it might've been a different story because it is kind of in rust shape cosmetically, but I think it can easily be fixed. So that's enough blabbering about this thing. Let's go take it on a test drive. What nice weather we're having. I wonder what time it is. I'm gonna be late for work. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. Oh no, a flat tire. How did that happen? I'm in a rush. How am I gonna fix this?
Wait, I think I've got the perfect solution.
Introducing the Auxito A301 tire inflator, the ultimate portable air compressor. With powerful 150 PSI performance and digital pressure gauge, this cordless wonder inflates compact car tires from 32 PSI to 36 PSI in just 25 seconds, and can take a standard tire from 0 PSI to 36 PSI in just 7 minutes. featuring an auto shutoff for precision, dual LDC displays for easy readability, a noise-reducing cooling fan. The A301 is designed for convenience and efficiency. Its compact design and rechargeable 52 milliamp battery provides up to 23 minutes of continuous use, making it perfect for on-the-road and home use. With multiple preset inflation modes and quick connect hose, the Auxito A301 ensures hassle-free operation. Stay prepared and keep your tires in top shape with Auxito A301 tire inflator. Guys, this tire inflator is going to be an absolute lifesaver. Make sure to go pick one of these up. Auxito also has a jump starter and tire inflator package all in one, so make sure to pick one of these up if you need a jump starter as well. You can use my code ROSSTRAILER at checkout using my affiliated link and get 15% off your order. Thank you, Auxito, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to working on this Porsche. All right, so first thing, I want to put the key in the right side every single time, but this is a Porsche and the key is always on the left, which don't know why, but that's just a Porsche thing. Foot on the brake, steering wheel does its thing, and there we go. Now it's going to start beeping a bunch because we have no air suspension, or if we do, it's not working correctly. It says PSM failure, workshop, a bunch of other random stuff. So let's put it in drive. Okay, ABS failure. Yes, we know air suspension is faulty. It still works, which is weird. This thing is a little underpowered right now because we have a major boost leak, so we're probably only making like 200 horsepower maximum. I can hear an air compressor kicking in right now. And I don't know what this is, but looks kind of interesting. Suspension is in sport mode. I was gonna say it feels a little rough. So I think the different shock absorber modes are working. This thing's just going crazy. It doesn't want to be driven right now. And another thing I forgot to mention, this thing actually has a panoramic roof, which is a pretty high option on this. Man, this thing's shifting a little weird. I don't know if these things have issues with transmissions. Here we go on the main road. I wonder if putting it in sport mode does anything to the transmission. Let me put it in normal mode here. Normal shock absorber. So it does have something to do with the shocks, but I figured. All right, let's roll the window down so you guys can hear this V8. You can instantly hear the boost leak coming on the right over here. It's like just on the right side. Roll the window up because of the wind noise. Shift, damn it, we're in second gear. Holy crap. Let me just try shifting normally using the paddle shifters. Yeah, I don't know why they made these little buttons here. They're pretty cheap feeling as well. And I can hear some wind noise up in the panoramic roof. I think we might have some issues there. I know there's some tape around the window, so we might have a bad seal. But I think this is good for a test drive. I don't think we have any transmission or engine problems, at least I hope, besides the intercooler pipe being broken and not being able to make any boost. As you can see right here, we actually have a boost gauge, but it's in bar. And this is flooring it. So barely any boost there. All right, that's enough messing around. Let's pull this thing back in and give it a wash. let's do this.
Perfect.
Let's clean this pigsty up. This has actually been a 2-day project, and I actually got everything cleaned and everything has gone good until my steam cleaner broke. I was able to get everything cleaned up really nicely until I got to this seat, the steering wheel, and the center console, and that's when the steam cleaner died. I also didn't vacuum this carpet, but all the door cards and everything are completely cleaned up. The steaming process works really well on carpet and leather. I know I showed this side by side in the time lapse, but you can really see it in this lighting right here. Look at how glossy and greasy this seat is. This is the seat that I haven't done yet, and it just looks really oily and kind of disgusting. And this one is all a matte finish. Looks really good besides the water damage we have here on the leather, but it's not too serious. Other than that though, the leather cleans up really nicely, especially this leather dash. It just needed to be wiped down. But that is pretty much everything for the interior. You guys did see that I polished out, I believe, this headlight. But as for cleaning everything else on the front, I'll probably go ahead and do that off camera. I need to get another steam cleaner to get that cleaned up properly. But now we're gonna go ahead and back this thing up and assess this damage. I think I actually just fixed my steam cleaner. I was just about to buy a new one until I dug into this thing. It was actually super simple to pull the back cover off. It was a bunch of Phillips screwdrivers, and this whole cover comes off. The heating element is this entire tub right here that houses all of the water, and then it steams up and it comes out of this tube right here. So there's really not too many ways for this thing to fail other than it getting overheated, and this is what this thing is for right here. This is a thermocouple, I believe what they call it. Just senses if this thing gets too hot, it will break the circuit in here. But the issue that I was having was actually this switch right here. And I'll have my multimeter on here on the beeping setting. And we'll go ahead and touch these two together. This is for the switch, and we get nothing. And then when we turn it off, obviously, we get nothing. So for now, I'm just gonna leave this connected and go ahead and tape it up with some electrical tape. That will work just fine. For now, I won't have a switch. The only way to turn this off would be to unplug it, which honestly, I don't even use a switch. I just leave it on anyways, so it doesn't even really matter. Tape this up, make sure it works. I'm pretty sure it will, and we'll get to cleaning the rest of the interior. I finally got the Porsche all cleaned up. Here's what the inside looks like, and it looks a million times better than it did before. I put some of this Meguiar's leather conditioner on here. It definitely makes the leather feel a lot more tighter and firm, which is good because it did have kind of a rough, crackly feeling. Got the dash as well and some other areas like the steering wheel that were all leather. This whole interior is like all leather. Got the infotainment system all cleaned up. The steam cleaner works great for all these little cracks and crevices. One of the reasons I started on cleaning this thing before I assessed all the mechanical damage is because I was really scared that I wouldn't be able to get this interior looking right. This is a Porsche. It is a pretty expensive car. It was about $100,000 back in the day when it sold brand new. And I want the interior looking at least half as good as it did back in the day. But now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the mechanical damage. As you guys saw, we did have a broken intercooler right here. It had a pretty nasty crack in the top, and it also had a crack where it meets to the charge pipe right there. This is the pipe that actually runs from the turbo. All of the charged air comes through right here. So we're having a pretty bad boost leak from that. And I already ordered a new intercooler for a pretty low price. As for the rest of this damage, we have some pretty minor bendage in this fender. It's actually chipping a slight bit of the paint right here, but nothing too major. I believe I can actually paintless dent remove some of this. So you can see it actually moves quite easy. And then we can get the polisher and kind of polish out all of these scratches. And I think it will be good. The fender liner is pretty messed up. I can't really find these used on eBay. There's some aftermarket ones, but my experience with aftermarket fender liners is they're absolute junk. If I can't find this one for a good price, I'm gonna plastic weld this back together. We do have some cracked mounts for the intercooler right here and right here. As for the frame rail and everything else, there's really no major damage in here. Some other damage that I saw was down here. And this is actually where the air compressor is. Originally, I was thinking that the air compressors were at the top where the engine bay is, where it showed those two compressors. Those are actually vacuum pumps for the engine. That might be an issue right there. I think that might be our fault. Whenever I was messing with the air suspension, I was hearing the air compressor moving, but we might have a slight air leak somewhere in there. And I don't know if the camera picked it up, but the frame rail was actually slightly dented in that area. It almost looked like somebody tried to jack it up in that area and then realized they was actually bending the frame slightly and then brought it back down. So unfortunately, I think that's why they called this a salvage title, because it had that damage. Because other than that, there's really no other major damage that would be really expensive to fix to call this a salvage title. Not really sure, but I have it now and we're gonna try to get this thing working again. But before I go ahead and jack this thing up and inspect it some more, I want to inspect one thing before we move on. And that actually pertains to the engine. So there's a couple different models for the first generation of Cayenne. You had your V6, you had your naturally aspirated V8, and then you had your turbo V8s. The V6 is actually not a bad engine, but when you go up to the V8, it has an issue with cylinder scoring. So the way the cylinders are coated in the factory is actually a pretty flawed process. Once the engine's pushed over its limits or the engine starts getting dirty with deposits, it will actually start scraping up the cylinder walls pretty bad, and at that point, you need to get a new engine. Luckily for this car, it has the turbo V8, which not only makes a lot more power, but is also a lot more reliable than the naturally aspirated V8. The way that they coat these cylinders seems to last a lot longer, and they don't seem to have those major issues with cylinder scoring. But these turbo V8s aren't all reliable. There is one main issue that can be catastrophic if you don't fix it right away, and that has to do with the plastic coolant pipes underneath the intake manifold. And yes, I did say plastic coolant pipes, and it's actually in one of the most hottest spots in the engine, right in between the V. So why did Porsche use plastic coolant pipes for a turbo V8 engine? The Germans really seem to like to test the limits of their plastic, and there's been multiple lawsuits on this. But there is one way to fix this, and that is with aftermarket aluminum coolant pipes. And the only way we're gonna find out if this engine has the upgraded aluminum coolant pipes without taking off this gigantic intake manifold is by using a bore scope camera. So without wasting any time, let's see if I have a bunch of work to do to this engine. I think Porsche did a great job of making plastic look like aluminum on this engine. And if we do have the plastic coolant pipes, the only way we're gonna be able to tell if we can drive this a little bit without having to switch the aluminum ones is if the V is full of coolant. If the V is full of coolant, we're gonna have to fix it right away because the starter actually sits right in the middle. And if that gets coolant in it, that is not good. Well, I just can't seem to get the camera in here anywhere. There's really no cracks or crevices to get to it. And when I put the camera in there, I just really can't tell what I'm looking at because there's really no room to wiggle it around in there. So I think I'm gonna try to pull this throttle body off and see if I can see anything in there with a bore scope. Weird. Slide in. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Now this should come off. Okay, there we go. That is really, really dirty. Throttle body looks decently clean though. Throttle body should be free. Got the throttle body out, at least we can clean that. Anywhere. I'm going in and I see something in here. That looks like metal. That looks like aluminum coolant pipes. I just can't move it at all, but that kind of looks like what I think the aluminum ones look like. I just don't see any plastic in here other than the intake manifold. All right, guys, I am extremely happy right now because I just reviewed the footage and I looked at what the aluminum upgraded ones look like, and it looks like we have the aluminum upgraded coolant pipes in there, which is good. I didn't see any other leaks besides this valve cover and possibly this one that I'm going to replace, which should be pretty easy. I'm probably gonna do an oil change and spark plugs and maybe some other cheap stuff to make it run a little better, make sure all of these vacuum hoses and stuff are good. This one might be leaking here. You see there's some oil coming out. Yeah, I'm gonna replace that one. But anyways, I'm really happy that this engine is good. So let's keep moving on. You see our throttle body is a little bit dirty on the engine side. So I'm gonna throw some throttle body cleaner on this and get it all shined up. I noticed the outside was a little dirty too, so I'm just gonna do a full cleaning job on this throttle body. I'm just lightly going in here. I'm not trying to move the throttle body lever at all. So I don't want to throw it off. Now we get our throttle body on. If I can figure out which way it goes. These get torqued down to 100 foot-pounds. I'm just kidding. If you do that, you will probably need to get a new intake manifold. I can plug some of this stuff back. Bam. Bam, that one didn't make a click, but it's in. And I think the only thing left is this piece that we cleaned up. Not the easiest throttle body to remove, but we got it back on. Well guys, looks like I'm taking more stuff off because I just dropped the pins that go in here to connect this plastic piece into the throttle body, whatever you call it. I dropped them right into here and I can't get them. And this goes to our intake. So I'm gonna have to take that off. I don't know if you guys can see that. But they're both right there. I don't know how to get to them. Come in with one of these guys. All right, we're in this tube right here. And I got a good view of these little pins. Oh, just gotta be really careful here. Oh, I got it. I almost took the whole intake system off for that. We got one more. Yes! Yes! We got the 2 pins out of the intake. Note to self and everybody that has these engines, don't put anything up here because it's gonna fall in these little tubes. And it's almost impossible to get them out unless you have a camera and one of those grabby things.
Perfect. Perfect.
So as I'm waiting for parts to come in, I did a lot of things on the side, like cleaning the wheel wells and these brake calipers. Looks a million times better. I did unfortunately rub the Porsche logo off on one of them, and so I went ahead and just scotch-brighted the rest of them to get the other Porsche logos off. I think it looks good, but I do want the Porsche logo back, so I might try to get the OEM sticker for all 4. The keyed lug nuts, those things are super annoying. Unfortunately, this car did not have the actual key for the lug nuts. I didn't want to go out there and buy one because I was missing one lug nut. I did use a bolt extractor tool. It was a 19mm, a set from Harbor Freight. I think it was about 30 bucks for all that. I was able to remove the keyed lug nuts. I just had to hammer them on there, and I pretty much threw those away because they got completely damaged. So here are the first set of parts that came in. It's not much, but they are some very important parts. Right here is the bolts. They're OEM, they're used. They're pretty cheap. I think I got this whole set for about $6 a piece, so 24. And then right here we have our intercooler. I got this intercooler for an absolute smoking deal. They got it on eBay used for 50 bucks, which really is an absolute steal if you look at Porsche 995 parts. They just seem to be really uncommon compared to the 958 parts, I believe. That's a newer version of this Cayenne. Looks to be undamaged. We do got some oil here, but I think that's from something else. I think before I put this on, I kind of want to clean this out. I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can finally see a little bit of light coming through the fins, which is good. That means we're gonna have good airflow through this intercooler. And taking another look at this, it looks like there's 3 mounting spots. One is right here actually, and that tab is still intact. I think I can undo that, and the tab on the new intercooler is good, so that one will actually bolt up. Now this one right here goes right there, and it's just pulled out a little bit. I think I can some fiberglass in there and make that one piece. This part on the other hand is going to be a little bit more difficult. I'm missing quite a bit of the piece that actually goes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew all of these, get them set where they need to, put a layer of fiberglass over them, and then I'll drill the hole kind of in the same exact spot so that everything mounts up perfectly. After some struggling, I finally got the new intercooler on. Here's what it looks like right here. I also did some plastic welding on this stuff. This is not my best fiberglass work, but it is definitely holding. The intercooler is mostly held up by all of the turbo piping that connects to it anyways, so those mounts don't really matter that much at all. And this one is pretty solid up here, so I think we'll be good on that. This pipe is an absolute pain to get on. 2 bolts down there that are almost impossible to get to, but I did get everything connected, and I think we should be good. I do want to do a smoke test to make sure everything is connected and we have no boost leaks. I think the best way to find out if we have any boost leaks is go from this hole right here. This goes straight to the intake. It goes to the turbos and everything and the intercoolers, and then it should go out the other side as well since these are merged together. So once this runs its course, we should be getting smoke out of here. Oh, looks like we got another boost leak somewhere. I think we got some kind of boost leak down here. I'm not sure if it's coming out the bottom of this air filter. As you can see, we're definitely getting smoke down from this side. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side and see if we get a similar leak, because I think it's actually coming out of the air box. And yep, we are definitely getting a leak from this side too. So I think it's just coming out of the air boxes. So I think the only real way to test this out would be to pull these tubes off, but I'm not gonna go through all of that trouble. But anyways, I think we're good to test this thing out and see if it actually holds some boost this time. Seems to be running a little better. Well, I gotta say, it actually drives pretty good too, just pulling it out of the garage. It used to be a little bit jerky and kind of hesitate just slightly. I think it was because of that boost leak. You can see it just perfectly smooth right now. No weird noises, nothing. I think what I want to do is I want to throw the headlight back in here, get all of the grills and everything situated so it doesn't blow around too much, and possibly get this thing some gas because it's a little bit low on fuel. Here we are going for our first test drive. First test drive with boost. Oh my gosh. Gotta warm this thing up just a little bit though. Yeah, this thing definitely got some power. That is for sure. It does not like to shift out a second by itself. Oh my gosh. This thing just takes off, even on the gravel. Beautiful.